My name is Rhiannon Bennett.
My name is John Silversmith. I am the president of Heartland Spiritual Alliance. And
I founded Camp Gaia, and I was involved in the early formation of the Heartland Spiritual Alliance. 86 was the first Heartland Pagan Festival.
so 83 years ago.
Heartland did not come into being until 2 years later. It was actually the third Heartland Pagan Fest that we had incorporated as Heartland Spiritual Alliance. Because of the issues, I was the vice president the first year that Heartland Spiritual Alliance was responsible for Heartland Pagan Festival. Like I said, there were 2 years previously, which I was not involved. However, whenever we, at that point, we were going to a Campfire Girl Camp, and we had some problems with their board. They saw somebody who was trespassing on the property, saw a young man in a loincloth, and reported it, and they were upset about it. I was quite grateful that he had a loincloth on, because it could have been less. So because of the fact that their board was unhappy with that, we were asked not to come back to the Campfire Girl Camp, and we were there, I think, 3 years. And then we went to Camp Bartle, which was a Boy Scout camp, which was down south in Missouri, quite a ways, about 3 hours. We had an issue there as well, because the Boy Scouts found out that we were giving away condoms at the first aid cabin. When I went before the board after the fact, of course I dressed up very mundane, and we went in, and they said that that was the issue. And I said, so you're telling me that the Boy Scouts is against safe sex? And he said, well, no, but we're a young men's organization. I said, but we're not. This was not given to children. There were no children there that were not with their families. However, we are pro safe sex. So that was why we couldn't go there. Well, at that point we started looking for yet another place, and we had already started looking. A man that I was involved with at the time named Chris Watkins and I started looking for places that we could possibly purchase, rent and or possibly purchase. And we actually found this camp about a year before, maybe 2 years before. However, they were asking $350,000 for it. And that was just like, oh, maybe not. It's 168 acres, and of course we had all the buildings, and so anyway, we started looking and we couldn't find anything. And that's about the time when the real estate guy that we had talked to about 2 years earlier came back and said, they've reduced the camp. It's only $225,000. And being Scottish, if it's on sale, got to do it, right? So,
Touching back on the families and coming here and the children that we raised here, we have a growing population of little ones. My little boy was born, believe it or not, on the day we were supposed to leave for Heartland. And I was, at that time, in charge of security, like I still am now. And my wife was the work exchange committee chair. And he was born 2 months early. He was a very sick little boy. And when we told camp what was going on, a lot of our friends, which we're all friends, I mean, everybody up on this hill, whether I've met them or not, by the time they leave this camp, have become part of our family, people with common goals and interests and beliefs, and we're all stronger for it. They all got together and they thought about my little one for a long time, and he, like I said, he was very sick. He couldn't be touched. He couldn't have any light. He couldn't have any sound, or his heart would stop. And they were constantly keeping it going with IV drip caffeine and anything they could to get it stronger. And they didn't really have very good outlook for him. And then a week into Heartland, they said, we don't know what's going on, but he's going to be fine. And, the powers of people is amazing, that energy, He is now 11. He is fine. for the first 7 years of his life, he thought this camp and this festival was in celebration of his birthday. He told a little girl in preschool that, yes, I have a birthday party out in Leavenworth, and they have fireworks, and they have bands, and they have speakers, and they have all these people that come share my birthday with me.
He's not wrong.
And he's not wrong, because we always have, dining room has a party for him every year, and but I've seen a lot of children grow up here, a lot of little boys that honestly I would like to have
Throttled.
yeah, locked in a room somewhere and dealt with later, that have grown into fine, decent young men, and same with the women. And we are a family, and we are very, very happy with that reputation that we have. When we come out on Saturday. Our festival doesn't start till that following Thursday. So we have all those days of setup. All the staff is together. We cook for each other. We have community meals because we don't have a meal plan or provider here, so we have to eat. So we all pull in all our food together, and we'll cook for each other, breakfast, lunch, dinner. And we get some ladies to the kitchen that can't do the physical thing, and they'll do all the cooking. And I had a conversation with, I think it was Bootstrap Bill Turner, that what we wanted to see going forward, because we were watching our two little boys, who are very good friends. One is 9, one is 11, mine's 11. And he goes, where do you see them in 10 years? And I said, I see mine, doing what I'm doing. And I'm hoping that they're going to keep this place going, because I want it to grow as our children grow. And I want our children to take our place so we can be the old crones, the old people that sit in the camp that can't do anything anymore, and watch our children carry on this beautiful tradition of this camp. And I want to be able to see that as we grow and develop, that more and more people get educated in our religious beliefs, and more people start accepting us a little bit more than we are accepted, and aren't as closed-minded to what they think we are as opposed to what we really are. And hopefully our children can educate them in that way, especially now with technology like this, social media, definitely. So I see a lot of things going forward that we didn't have as when we were first coming out here, that they can utilize and promote our way of life. And hopefully Camp Gaia will be a very, very big part of that.
My name is Greg Meister, and I am a merchant here at Heartland, have been for about 20 years now. That's as far as how I came here and whatnot. Actually, in truth, it was this land, Camp Gaia, that brought me. My first attendance was not for this festival. It was a Labor Day festival that's held on the same property. And after coming to that one, I was then told about Heartland, and the very next season attended Heartland, and haven't missed one since. It's pretty much been, that would have been 98, so it's been about 20 years that I've been attending now. Let me backtrack a little bit and talk about my coming to Gaia, and when I was first introduced to Camp Gaia and then to Heartland. I had kind of come from a dark place for some years in my life that were just not good, and this place gave me incredible healing and brought me to a place where I could go forward and do the things I'm doing now, and we want that to continue to be there for everyone.
Misty bird song sing light and shade. feet to fly to become light and shade. Dream away, chasing butterflies. Summer star is high. The queen of the summer stars is wearing a cloak of green. Her laughter like falling water is filling my cup of dreams. Rainbow clouds are drift flowing by, winking star appear endless sky. Night and day, dream away, just like fireflies. Summer stars arise. The queen of the summer stars is wearing a cloak of night. Another green day tomorrow, a promise of morning.
his doctorate, and he's not really used to the Dr. Scott thing. I do have to yell it at the top of my voice because he has the coolest name ever. And next we have Byron Ballard.
That's a way cooler name than mine, I just want to point out.
Dr. Scott?
No, Byron Ballard?
Well, people say all the time, so why did you change your name to that? And I go, trust me, Byron Ballard's a name you change from, not to. So it's part of a kind of a Southern tradition, so I'll start with my name. My full name is Helen Byron Ballard, and I was named after my grandparents. And my grandmother was already using Helen, so they didn't want to do that weird Southern thing of Big Helen, Little Helen. So they called me after my grandfather's name, which is my middle name, Byron, which has gotten me in more trouble in my life than I think I could write a book about it. And I will give you one example, which is not at all spiritual. I went for a study abroad summer when I was 17, and because of my name, they housed me with boys. And I was like, all right, but then they caught me coming out of the boys' room, and then they were ready to send me home, and I was like, but look, it's my room assignment. And then I'm sure legal issues flashed before their eyes, so it was all okay. It was fine. So I am a multi-generational working class Appalachian woman, but I'm the first person in my family to graduate high school, but I also have a terminal degree in my field, which is theater. So I have a Master of Fine Arts degree. I will never be Dr. Ballard, sorry. I'm working on an MDiv though, so I have a master's something else. I began life as a folkloric witch, a cultural witch, lowercase w, but I was fortunate to be unchurched. My family, a generation back, had a fight with the Methodist Church, and we were raised without no church, which was really good ultimately. Except that I find I can still quote the Nicene Creed pretty easily. So I was a witch, and had no religion, but I studied mythology in middle school and in high school. I took 4 years of Latin, and I used to know that particular branch of mythology pretty well. And it wasn't until I was in college, many moons ago, before many of you were born, that we used to meet in the student union, where there was always beer when I was 18, always beer.
You went to a very different campus.
Well, it was before it was illegal to drink beer at 18, so it was a long time ago. And a group of women met in an encounter group. Some of you will remember that concept. And we were getting mimeographed sheets out of California from Starhawk. And I became Wiccan. I found the religion of choice, which is Wiccan. And I've been Wiccan ever since. I'm a member, it's an offshoot of McFarland Dianic, which means that the worshipers are all genders, but the divinities are only one. And we've been doing that a long time. I'm the founder of one of the founders of Mother Grove Goddess Temple in Asheville, North Carolina. And I remember when I was first talking about it, and people said, "Oh, well, what's your Wiccan tradition?" Like the only kind of magic there could be was Wiccan magic. And several years ago, Brandy Williams asked me to be part of an anthology, Women's Voices in Magic. And I told her I'd like to do something on folk magic, and her response was, "Well, we would love something on low magic." And my response to her was, "Oh, you mean the sorts of magic that actually work magic?" And I saw her at PantheaCon a couple of years ago, and I told her that story, and she said, "Oh my God, I did not say that to you." And I said, oh yeah, you said that. So I practice low magic, field magic, MacGyver magic. But I am not afraid for a second to pull in the wrath of the Morrigan, or a Nana, or even Bridget, whose wrath is a little tinny. If you hurt me or mine, I'm not afraid of that in the least. I do, or I used to do, I'm on sabbatical right now, I used to do a lot of interfaith work. I worked with the United Religions Initiative, and we've had interfaith groups in Asheville for a long time. And I'm there not to talk about the commonality. I don't want to be there on December the 20th. Somebody talks about Hanukkah, and somebody talks about the solstice, somebody talks about Christmas, somebody talks about Ramadan. I want to get in to a place where we are sitting around a table and we start talking about the stuff we don't have in common. Because it's easy enough to go, oh, those nice pagan people, look, they wear tie-dye? Isn't that sweet? And sometimes they're naked in the woods? Oh, that's adorable. Because all of that makes us feel very sort of precious and weirdly wonderful. Like we're like the Disney version of a religion. But when it comes down to cases is when you say things like, I want to talk about the difference between having a multiplicity of deity forms and you. Let's talk about that. Ooh. Because that'll raise some happiness. Because they don't want to talk about, well, what do you mean? No, I mean, it's all just facets of one. It's just a oneness. It's just a, and then I like to say, so you're a monotheist, are you? So you got Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Okay, I get the triple aspect thing. But you've also got Satan, who's challenging your main God all the time. Doesn't that make him at least a demigod? Well, but no, because, but. So I want to talk about the hard stuff. I want to talk about the things like we have lovely people doing greening and stewardship and all that stuff that's terribly important. That Christians can kind of touch what it means to be really part of the earth because they now recycle things. Yay, big institutional churches recycle things. Whoop-de-doo. What I want to talk about is when I have to look out on a polluted lake, and it is not just that, oh no, the thing I'm supposed to be stewardship over, I'm not doing a good job. And I say to them, this is like you are giving feces to Jesus to eat. This is what you're doing to us. And that really is not a happy thought for them. They really don't like that. And it's like you're cutting off pieces of his limbs and you're maybe gilding them and hanging them in your house. How's that feel? Well, they don't like the way that feels. So I really want to challenge the religions around me to understand that I am just not a toy. I'm just not there to explain in a happy way and to say, blessed be, so they can all greet me with, blessed be, Byron, I've said the right thing. I want to get into it because what we have to say collectively is so important to the future of both the cultures, of the species, and of the planet. And we need to be doing that. If you can stomach it, I want you to do interfaith work and not just say, oh, everyone has a golden rule. Everyone doesn't.
Well said.
Cosign. Second the motion.
So, okay, let's talk about differences. Should we start with you? I'm gonna Dr. Scott. I'm gonna always start with you because I can say Dr. Scott. Rocky, Janet. Okay, good.
No, I mean that whole talk there reminds me of there was this article that that the sadly largely lost from the internet, Jason Pitzelwaters. I wrote this brilliant essay a couple of years ago talking about. So there's the Charge of the Goddess, which most people, if you're familiar with Wicca, you're probably familiar with that. It's very sweet, very lovely. You'll gather the full moon, you won't be clothed, whatever. But there's the part before that gets quoted somewhat less. This is the very beginning of Aradia, when essentially, Diana is describing what Aradia's job as a witch. What is a witch? What does a witch do? And the thing she says is witches poison rich people. Like witches, the rich and the powerful, the people who enslave others. Like your job, like what witches do is they poison them, and they cast them down. I've thought about that passage a lot in thinking about sort of, this goes into, I think, what you're talking about with the stewardship, with the stewardship of this polluted lake, this kind of thing. That if we are, on the one hand, it's really important that our magical practices, honor and pay and understand that connection to the earth. But then that also, the most potent kind of magic that we have available to us is also to actually go out and go after and try to fix some of these situations.
So how are we going to feel as Wiccans? We talk about being the monster. You're right. How are we going to feel when all of a sudden we have all of these witches? I'm a witch. What does that mean? I'm a self-empowered woman.
Well, it feels very familiar to the second wave feminists.
Right.
We've been using the word witch like that since 1971. So it doesn't feel at all othering or uncomfortable. It's like sisters and brothers come on in. Because there's also the divide, and it's not a huge one, between people like me who practice a folkloric witch tradition and people who practice witchcraft as a spirituality. And that's a different thing. Now, I happen to be a lowercase witch and an uppercase witch. So I do both of those things. But I had a shiny young Gardnerian priestess say to me once I could not use the word witch because I was not Gardnerian. And my response was, well, my great-grandmother, who was born in 1864, called herself a witch before Gardner was born. So how do you explain that to me? Well, she couldn't explain that to me because she could only explain out of her lineage tradition how that word was not for me. That word has always been for the other. And it's been for people who have been unafraid to wield the powers of the universe, however that comes about. And that's what a witch is. A witch is, and when we were first using it, is a woman who has the powers of the universe at her fingertips and cannot be controlled. Now, what isn't beautiful about that?
Hi, I'm Neil Goodman. All roads in port. We're in Heartland, yes. How did I get to Heartland? I got to Heartland because I found Gaia through a friend of mine that I worked with. Was the caretaker at Gaia, and I had heard about Heartland. The whole time he was getting ready and coming to work and working his job and coming back out here because at that time he was the caretaker of Gaia. Then Laid Back, Mike invited me to come out to Laid Back, which is the fundraiser for the camp. And the next thing I did was Heartland, and that's been 25 years ago, and I've been here ever since. I started out here as a participant at Heartland, and then I became a merchant. I worked for my brother Griffin for 10 years, and then I've been out on my own and have had a few other partners throughout the 11 years I've been doing this, out basically by myself.
So being a pagan merchant must be a dream job.
No, nobody sees all the work that goes into it, and riding all the storms out, and it's like having a child. You don't have it, it has you. It is its own entity, just because of the nature of the beast.
Mm-hmm. So what's your fondest Heartland memory that you're willing to share?
One of the most memorable was the flood. We are now up on top of the ridge. The merchants originally started out in Grover's, down below the lake. In February, the sluice gate on the lake broke and drained half to 3/4 of the lake. In February, Heartland is Memorial Day weekend in May. We had a bunch of the weather witches decide to get together and, woo, we're gonna fill the lake! And they did. And then some. And we flooded and flooded and flooded. I quit pulling stuff out of the merchant circle when the water was up to here, and you could feel yourself start to flow and move as the water was flowing. It's like, okay, we're done here. We can't reach anything else anyway. There were four people. Go in and you grab each corner of a tent and you grab it and you lift it, and we carried the contents out up to, at that time, the old pavilion, which is the hall now at registration, and you deposited it because floodwaters stopped before it went to the lowland. You were on the highland by that point. It was put a tote at the end of a table, an 8-foot plastic folding table, and you ran your arm down it and you scooped it in, and it got picked up and thrown in the back of the pickup truck. As the pickup truck's running and bubbling to the point that's, okay, it's time to get this out of here, and oh yeah, lots of fun. That is probably one of the most memorable memories of Heartlands is, yes, oh, we're going to fill the lake up. Yeah, and they made it pour and pour and pour. The problem was the tributaries backed up and flooded us out, besides it coming over the top of the lake.
That is so cool. That's a great story.
Magic in action, or overaction, depending on your point of view.
So you've been merchandising for a while. You just don't do Heartland, you do a lot of different merchandising.
Yes, I have traveled pretty much everything from the Rockies to the East Coast.
So people ask, and this is my last question for you. People ask, what is the value of merchants at these types of festivals?
The value of the merchants at the festivals. The merchants are part of the festival. Without merchanting, you have a festival, but there's no festival clothes, there's no festival stuff. All the things that get imported in, all the handcrafters that are here, pushing their own wares. We have soap makers here, we have tincture makers, we have a herbalist, we have all these things that you just can't, you can, but it's easier to get at a festival. And I have lots of people that, oh, I love this or I love that. Where did you get that? Well, you can't go into a store and buy this because it comes from festival. It's the one memory that you can take home from festival, that you can wear, you can talk about when people ask you about it. And the merchants are not the mean, evil Ferengi that lots of people want to portray them as, because they come into our community, strip the community of all the money, and they pack up and they leave. But let's talk about all the merchants that give to all the auctions, give to the different causes, to raise money for sites, where we can continue this.
I saw her dancing at the county fair. Stepping high, she was light as air. She was wearing a four-leaf clover in her hair. Oh, lucky day. When she smiled at me, it was over. I gave my heart to her then and there. Now I'm dreaming of four-leaf clover everywhere. Oh my, oh lucky day. She laid me down in a bed of clover, kisses and clover everywhere. I found a four-leaf clover tangled in my hair. Oh my, my lucky day. Lucky day. The moon and the stars are looking on me, and a lucky four-leaf clover. Every day that I get to hold her, I'm the luckiest man alive. She's the one I've been searching for all my life. Oh my, oh lucky day. Lucky day.
Lots of groups have come and gone through the years. It's just been really heartening to me to watch that continuity of spirit. I talk about that a lot to people, that without the continuity of spirit, nothing lasts. And I see that, the roots to the trunk to the branches, and Gaia has prospered. We paid off the camp in 2012. For the Gaia Retreat Center, just Google Gaia Retreat Center and it will pop up. I think that it's under campgaia.org, but it could be under GaiaRetreat.org because there has been some changes over the years. There's also a Facebook page called Love for Camp Gaia and Friends of Gaia as well.
For HSA and the Heartland Pagan Festival, we are located at www.kchsa.com, or you can actually email me personally, because, well, that's the kind of guy I am, at tcchvac@gmail.com, and I would be happy to answer any questions you have. We're here every Memorial Day week, so